A rapid-fire montage flashes across the screen, set to uplifting, hopeful music. We see Martha, her face lighting up with a genuine smile as she effortlessly video calls a grandchild she hasn't seen in years, the connection crisp and clear. In another frame, Leela, hunched over a tablet, lets out a quiet cheer, a triumphant grin spreading across her face as she solves a complex math problem for her online class, a stark contrast to earlier frustrations when the internet was a distant dream. Then, DAVID appears, meticulously filling out an online job application form on a laptop, a flicker of hope and determination in his eyes as he confidently clicks submit. We quickly cut to MRS. Chen, proudly displaying a perfectly baked cake to her phone camera, having just followed a new, intricate online recipe with ease. The common thread in all these vignettes is subtle but powerful. They're all connected. Their lives subtly, wonderfully improved by unseen force. The camera then smoothly transitions to a slightly worn, two-story house, a standard suburban home nestled in a quiet, tree-lined neighborhood. On its roof, almost camouflaged against the faded shingles and the clear blue sky, is a discreet, almost unassuming antenna. It's not flashy, nor is it particularly large, but its very presence, its slightly unusual placement, suggests it's not just a run-of-the-mill TV aerial. It's a silent, humming heart of something bigger. Our protagonist, Alex, sharp, practical, with a quiet but intense focus, moves calmly through his home office. He's not a cape-wearing superhero, but a self-taught tech wizard with a deep-seated belief in the power of access and equality. He sips his coffee, his eyes scanning a complex network interface displayed on his main monitor, the data streams flowing in steady green lines, a visual representation of the invisible lifeline he has created. His office itself is a comfortable chaos of blinking lights, humming servers, and neatly organized cables. It's his sanctuary, the command center for his quiet revolution. This isn't just a hobby for Alex, it's a mission born out of necessity. He lives in Maplewood Estates, a community that, on the surface, appears to be just like any other American suburb. But if you venture just a few blocks past the perfectly manicured lawns and the rows of two-car garages, you encounter what locals, affectionately, or sometimes bitterly, refer to as the Gully. It's an older, often overlooked part of Maplewood, where the essential internet infrastructure never quite caught up with the times. The digital divide here isn't an abstract concept. It's a harsh daily reality. Kids struggle to complete online homework, parents find themselves unable to apply for essential jobs, and budding small businesses are tragically crippled by the lack of reliable connectivity. Alex witnessed this stark disparity, felt its crushing impact, and knew he couldn't simply stand by. He tried all the traditional routes, petitions, countless calls to service providers, even local community outreach programs, but the answers were always the same: not enough HOA, too costly to expand services to that area. So, with a determined sigh and an innovative mind, Alex decided he would build his own solution. His invisible lifeline started modestly, with just a single, high-gain antenna and a powerful, custom-built repeater system. He strategically placed it on his roof, carefully orienting it to maximize coverage. It was unorthodox, certainly against some unwritten rules, and probably quite a few written ones in the HOA bylaws, but, crucially, it worked. And the most important part, it wasn't about profit, it was about principle. Every single byte of data, every single connection, was entirely free. Alex walks through his house now, a subtle, almost private smile playing on his lips as he checks the system's diagnostics. He built this entire network from the ground up, utilizing salvaged parts, robust open-source software, and countless sleepless nights fueled by caffeine and an unwavering dedication. The discrete antenna on his roof is the external face of a complex array of routers and servers humming quietly in his repurposed attic space, all meticulously cooled and maintained to ensure peak performance. He explains, in a calm, clear voiceover, The basic principle: it's like building your own superhighway where there used to be just dirt roads. You're taking a faint signal, amplifying it, and then broadcasting it to where no one else would bother to. He is acutely aware of the risks involved. Homeowners Association HOA rules, especially in Maplewood estates, are notoriously strict, particularly regarding exterior modifications and anything that might disrupt the community aesthetic. His antenna, despite his best efforts to make it discreet, wasn't truly invisible. Yet, in Alex's mind, the profound need for connectivity far outweighed the personal risk. He vividly recalls the early days, the sheer, unadulterated joy of seeing the first few dozen connections light up on his network dashboard. It was a silent revolution, unfolding one grateful household at a time. He constantly monitors the general bandwidth he's pushing, the number of active users, and he knows, with a quiet satisfaction, that the vast majority are located in the gully. He likes it that way. No fanfare, no public recognition, just pure, unfettered connection. The positive impact of Alex's secret network quickly began to ripple through the gully. The earlier montage expands into more detailed, heartfelt scenes. We now see Martha not just video calling, but genuinely engaging with her grandson, teaching him a new song over a seamless connection, her lifelong loneliness visibly easing with each video chat. Leela proudly shows her mother her completed online assignment, a complex coding project, a clear gateway to a better, brighter educational future opening before her eyes. David, his face beaming, receives an email notification, an interview request for a coveted position. His phone buzzes with the electrifying possibility of a new career, all thanks to that simple submit button. And MRS. Chen is just showing a cake. She's now hosting an online baking tutorial for other community members, sharing her culinary wisdom. These aren't just abstract data points, they are tangible human stories, each profoundly touched by Alex's silent generosity. Alex occasionally finds anonymous thank you notes or small, homemade gifts, a batch of cookies, a hand-knitted scarf, left on his porch. They are clear, heartwarming signs that his efforts aren't going unnoticed, even if the source remains unknown. He cherishes these small, genuine gestures more than any official commendation. He remains meticulously careful, though, he's designed the network to be completely anonymous, a critical measure to protect the privacy of his users and, frankly, his own secret operation. No names, no personal data, just raw, liberating bandwidth. He knows he has to maintain this careful balance. The Maplewood Estates HOA, a powerful entity, a formidable force run by residents who take their covenants and bylaws with unwavering seriousness. Rules are rules, and any perceived deviation is typically met with swift and decisive action. Alex is in his front yard, meticulously watering his small patch of petunias, when a shiny, almost too perfect dark SUV slowly glides by. Behind the impeccably clean windshield sits Mr. Harrison, impeccably dressed, with an air of mild, almost permanent disapproval, a prominent and highly influential HOA board member, often seen on his self-appointed neighborhood patrols. Mr. Harrison's gaze, sharp and assessing, lingers on Alex's roof, specifically on the antenna, for a beat too long. Alex feels an immediate, subtle prickle of unease, a familiar tightening in his gut. He offers a friendly, casual wave, forcing a confident smile. Mr. Harrison responds with a tight, almost imperceptible nod in return, his expression utterly unreadable, leaving Alex to wonder. Later that day, as Alex checks his mail, his hand brushes against a crisp, official-looking envelope, bearing the distinct, embossed insignia of the Maplewood Estates Homeowners Association. It's a formal notice, printed on heavy, unforgiving paper. He tears it open, his heart sinking with a chilling certainty. The letter is polite, yet unmistakably firm, referencing Article 4, Section 3B, Exterior Structures and Modifications. With stark precision, It mentions an unapproved outdoor antenna and unequivocally requests its complete removal within 30 days, citing a direct breach of the community's carefully maintained aesthetic guidelines. There's no mention of what the antenna is for, no acknowledgement of its purpose, just the cold, hard fact that it's there, visible, and therefore a problem. Alex instinctively crumples the letter slightly in his hand, his eyes involuntarily drifting towards the gully in the hazy distance, knowing with a sickening certainty what this seemingly simple notice means for all those lives now irrevocably dependent on his hidden lifeline. The clock has officially, brutally, started ticking. Weeks have passed since the HOA's stern notice landed in Alex's mailbox, but the antenna still stands, a quiet testament to his defiance and the unseen digital backbone it provides. Alex moves through his home office, the subtle hum of his servers, a comforting, familiar sound. He spent countless hours optimizing the network, fine-tuning the signal, and troubleshooting minor glitches, all while trying to project an air of normalcy. His anxiety is a low thrum beneath the surface, but the positive impact he witnesses daily outweighs the mounting pressure. He glances at his monitor, a heat map showing the density of connections in the gully, a vibrant constellation of green dots indicating active users. It's more than just data. It's a visual representation of lives transformed, an ever-growing testament to his quiet mission. One afternoon, we witnessed the story of Mrs. Shen unfold. She is no longer just baking alone. With Alex's internet, she's become a local culinary celebrity, hosting weekly online baking classes for other community members. Her kitchen, previously a solitary space, now bustles with the energy of virtual students. Today, she's teaching a complex sourdough recipe, her tablet propped up amongst flour, dusted bowls. Her voice, once hesitant with technology, now projects confidently as she guides a dozen eager faces through the intricate kneading process. Remember, patience is key, just like life. She chuckles into the camera. We see snippets of her students, a young mother trying to bake for her kid's school fair, an elderly gentleman finding a new hobby, a teenager creating content for a budding food blog. The comments section on her live stream overflows with gratitude and questions, fostering a vibrant, new online community centered around her passion. For Mrs. Chen, this free internet isn't just about recipes. It's about renewed purpose, a connection to others that fills a void she didn't even realize was there. She often sends Alex a small, anonymously delivered container of her freshly baked goods, a silent thank you that he cherishes. These small acts of appreciation fuel his resolve. Meanwhile, David's life has taken a significant turn. Weeks ago, he was stuck in a dead-end job, feeling the weight of limited opportunities due to the lack of internet access at home. Now, sitting in his small apartment in the gully, his laptop is open to an online course in digital marketing, provided by a nonprofit organization that he found through Alex's network. He meticulously takes notes, his brow furrowed in concentration. The free internet allowed him to access educational resources he could never afford, bridging a knowledge gap that once seemed insurmountable. We see him diligently completing assignments, participating in online forums, and even creating a small portfolio of sample marketing campaigns. This evening, he's just received an email confirming his acceptance into a paid internship program, a direct result of the online course and the interviews he conducted via video calls. He stares at the acceptance letter on his screen, a genuine, wide smile spreading across his face, tears welling up in his eyes. He quickly dials his mother, eager to share the life-changing news. For David, the internet wasn't just a utility. It was a ladder out of stagnation, a pathway to a future he hadn't dared to dream of before. He often wonders who Alex from Maplewood is, the anonymous provider of this invaluable service. In another corner of the community, Leela and her education are flourishing. Her family couldn't afford reliable home internet, forcing her to rely on spotty public library Wi-Fi that was often inaccessible due to distance or limited hours. Now, with Alex's connection, her small bedroom has become her classroom. We see her video calling her teacher for extra help after school, seamlessly submitting complex projects online, and exploring educational content that expands her world. Far beyond the confines of the gully, she's discovered a passion for coding through online tutorials and is even participating in a virtual robotics club. Her grades have soared, her confidence has blossomed, and she's no longer falling behind her peers in more affluent areas. Her mother, who works 2 jobs, often watches Leela from the doorway, a quiet sense of relief and pride on her face, knowing her daughter now has the tools to succeed. The internet has become indispensable for Leela, a gateway to knowledge and opportunity that will shape her future. The reliance on Alex's network isn't just about individual success stories. It's about a growing communal dependency. Small neighborhood groups have formed online, organizing local cleanup drives, sharing information about community events, and even creating a digital safety net for vulnerable residents. A once fragmented community is slowly but surely weaving itself together through the invisible threads of Alex's internet. Alex, observing this from his quiet command center, feels a profound sense of pride and a deepening responsibility. The stakes are getting higher. He knows that his actions, should they be discovered, could jeopardize all this progress, all these newfound opportunities. He now spends less time on his personal projects and more time monitoring his network, checking for anomalies, and trying to predict potential issues. His dedication is absolute, but the strain is beginning to show in the subtle dark circles under his eyes. The HOA's presence, initially a faint whisper, begins to grow louder, more insistent. Alex finds himself checking his mailbox with increasing trepidation, half expecting another stern notice. He notices Mr. Harrison's black SUV more frequently patrolling his street, its presence an unsettling omen. One afternoon, while Alex is subtly adjusting a connection point in his attic, he sees Mr. Harrison speaking intently with a neighbor 2 houses down. This neighbor gestures vaguely towards Alex's roof, then lowers their voice conspiratorially. Alex quickly ducks away from the window, his heart thudding. It's not just Mr. Harrison anymore. The neighborhood watch, fueled by curious residents and strict adherence to rules, is taking notice. A few days later, a flyer appears on the community bulletin board, a general reminder about HOA rules regarding exterior alterations and unapproved structures, with a subtle but pointed emphasis on antennas. It doesn't name Alex directly, but the timing feels anything but coincidental. The pressure is building, and the quiet dedication that once felt so fulfilling is now tinged with a growing sense of anxiety. Alex knows the grace period from the first notice is dwindling, and the seemingly innocuous antenna is drawing far too much attention. The threat of discovery, and the devastating impact it would have on the lives he has quietly changed, hangs heavy in the air. The tension in Alex's home has become palpable, a silent hum that's louder than his servers, the HOA's implied. Threats have morphed into something far more explicit. One crisp morning, as Alex steps out to grab his mail, he finds not just another letter, but a bright orange notice plastered directly onto his front door, a stark, unwelcome splash of color against the subdued paintwork. It's a final warning, emblazoned with the HOA logo, stating that the unapproved exterior structure the antenna must be removed within 72 hours, or escalating fines and legal action will commence. His heart sinks. This isn't just a polite request anymore. It's an ultimatum. He tears the notice down, his jaw tight, his gaze instinctively drifting towards the gully, a visible pang of dread for the community he serves. That very evening, the inevitable direct confrontation arrives. Alex receives a summons to an urgent HOA board meeting. The small community hall, usually reserved for mundane discussions about lawn care and seasonal decorations, crackles with an unusual formality. Seated at a long table are the key figures of the HOA, Mr. Harrison, his expression as unyielding as ever, flanked by two other board members, their faces equally stern. The air is thick with unspoken judgment. Mr. Harrison begins without preamble, his voice firm, echoing slightly in the quiet hall. "Mr. Peterson," he states, fixing Alex with an unwavering stare, "we have repeatedly contacted you regarding the unauthorized antenna on your property. Our covenants are clear. This structure is in direct violation of Article 4, Section 3B. The 30-day grace period has elapsed. Your final deadline is 72 hours from this moment. Failure to comply will result in a daily fine of $50, escalating to legal injunctions and potential forced removal by the assignation's contractors, with all costs billed to you." Alex tries to interject, to explain, to plead. "Mr. Harrison, please, I understand the rules, but this is different. This antenna, it's serving a vital purpose for the community. It's not just some random modification." Mr. Harrison raises a hand, cutting him off. "Mr. Peterson, with all due respect, the HOA's purpose is to uphold property values and maintain the aesthetic integrity of Maplewood Estates for all residents. We do not concern ourselves with speculative purposes. Rules are rules, and they apply to everyone equally. Your personal projects cannot override the agreed-upon covenants." The other board members nod in agreement, their faces resolute. Alex feels a surge of frustration and despair. How could he explain the invisible lifeline without revealing his entire operation? How could he make them understand the profound impact their rule would have on hundreds of lives? He tries a different angle. What if I could make it less visible? Or move it to a different location on my property, perhaps in the backyard, out of sight? Mr. Harrison consults a thick binder. Article 4, Section 3B states no exterior structures, including antennas, exceeding 6 feet in height above the roof line, are permitted unless approved by the Architectural Review Committee. Furthermore, any installation visible from public thoroughfares or neighboring properties requires prior approval. Your current installation clearly fails both criteria. Moving it might alleviate visibility concerns, but it would still require a formal application, which, given the nature of the structure, would likely be denied. We have a standard for what is acceptable in Maplewood Estates, and this antenna does not meet it. The door to negotiations slams shut. Alex leaves the meeting defeated, the 72-hour countdown echoing in his mind. Back at his house, the internal struggle rages. He paces his office, the grim notice clutched in his hand. Remove the antenna. That means cutting off Mrs. Chen's baking classes, leaving David stranded in his job search, plunging LILAS education back into darkness. He flashes back to the small gestures of gratitude. Martha's video calls, David's hopeful clicks, Leela's triumphant smile. He can't abandon them, but defying the HOA means financial ruin, a protracted legal battle he can't afford, and potentially having his entire operation forcefully dismantled, exposed, and shut down permanently. He pulls up the network dashboard. The green dots still glow, but a subtle flicker, a brief dip in traffic, hints at the stress his system is under, perhaps due to his anxious tinkering or the growing pressure. He stares at the map of the gully, a heavy weight in his chest. The first minor impacts of Alex's mounting anxiety and subtle network instability begin to surface in the community. David, in the middle of preparing for a crucial second interview, experiences a momentary internet drop during a video call. It's just for a few seconds, but the pixelated screen and frozen face of his potential employer send a jolt of panic through him. "Sorry, bad connection," he mumbles, the confidence he'd gained now slightly shaken. Leela struggles to upload a large project file for school, the progress bar stalling repeatedly. Her teacher had extended the deadline once, but another delay could affect her grade. Her frustration is evident, a small frown marring her concentration. Mrs. Chen's online baking class experiences a few buffering pauses, causing minor confusion among her students and interrupting her flow. "Just a small hiccup. My dears," she says, trying to maintain her cheerful demeanor, but a flicker of concern crosses her face. The community members, accustomed to the seamless, reliable connection they'd come to rely on, now exchange puzzled glances or frustrated sighs. They don't know the cause, but the slight instability is undeniable, a subtle tremor warning of a larger earthquake to come. As the hours tick down, Alex's desperation intensifies. Sleep becomes a luxury he can't afford. He pores over schematics, searches obscure online forums, and even considers purchasing illegal equipment. He needs a solution, a miracle. Then, a risky, almost ludicrous idea begins to form in his mind. It's a long shot, highly experimental, and far from guaranteed to work, but it might just buy him time, or at least keep the connection alive while he figures out a more permanent solution. The plan involves relocating the antenna to a far less visible spot on his property. Not on the roof, but cleverly hidden within a custom-built, disguised structure in his backyard, designed to blend seamlessly with the landscaping. This would require an even more powerful, directional antenna, precisely angled, and an entirely new, complex series of repeaters and amplifiers to compensate for the obstructions and maintain signal integrity. It's a massive undertaking, requiring specialized equipment he doesn't have, and a level of precise engineering that borders on the impossible within 72 hours. But it's his only shot. He begins sketching diagrams furiously, his mind racing with calculations. The new antenna would be hidden, technically not on the roof, and perhaps, just perhaps, it could fly under the HOA's radar long enough for him to find a real solution. It's a desperate measure, fraught with technical challenges and the constant threat of discovery, but the alternative is to watch everything he's built, and the lives he's touched, crumble. He grabs his tools, a fierce determination hardening his eyes. The clock is ticking, and he has a community to save. The 72-hour deadline from the HOA passed in a blur of frantic activity and sleep deprivation for Alex. His desperate plan, a last-ditch effort to relocate and disguise the antenna in his backyard, had been executed with a frantic urgency. He managed to construct a cleverly disguised, yet technically inadequate, housing for the antenna, attempting to hide it amongst dense foliage and a newly erected garden shed. But sheer ingenuity couldn't defy the laws of physics, nor could it overcome the limitations of hurried, compromised engineering. The signal, once robust and far-reaching, was now erratic, weakened by obstructions and the less than ideal placement. The map of the gully on Alex's monitor, once a vibrant tapestry of green dots, now flickered ominously, patches of red indicating lost connections, growing larger with each passing hour. The faint hum of his servers was replaced by a more frantic, strained whir, as if they too were struggling under the pressure. The immediate consequences were devastating, a slow-motion catastrophe unfolding in the gully. David, who had just secured his promising digital marketing internship, found his new world crumbling. He was required to attend daily online meetings and submit reports, tasks that now seemed impossible. We see him sitting hunched over his laptop, the screen displaying a persistent no internet connection error. Frustration contorts his face as he repeatedly tries to refresh, his calls to his new employer going straight to voicemail. He misses a critical morning briefing, then an afternoon project submission deadline. The hope that had filled him weeks ago drains away, replaced by gnawing anxiety and the fear of losing this life-changing opportunity. He glances at his phone. No data, no hotspot, just dead air. The free internet wasn't just a convenience for him, it was his very access to a better future. In her humble kitchen, Ms. Chen's once bustling online baking classes have ground to a halt. Her live stream pixelates, freezes, then finally disconnects entirely during a crucial demonstration. Her students, who had come to rely on her soothing guidance and the communal joy of baking, are left frustrated and confused. Messages flood her tablet. Mrs. Chen, are you there? Is anyone else's internet out? She tries to restart her router, then her tablet, but nothing works. Her virtual community, a source of such joy and purpose, begins to unravel. The silence in her kitchen, once filled with the chatter of her online students, feels heavy and lonely. She looks at the ingredients laid out, a half-baked cake sitting idly, her spirits sinking. The internet had given her a new lease on life, and now that lifeline felt severed. The impact on LILAS education is perhaps the most heartbreaking. Online learning had transformed her academic trajectory, pulling her from behind to the top of her class. Now, with the internet consistently down, her access to educational resources, online assignments, and virtual classroom sessions vanishes. We see her trying to access her school portal, tears welling in her eyes as the loading circle spins endlessly. She can't download the chapter she needs for tomorrow's history test, nor can she submit her essay. Her mother, returning from a long shift, finds Leela on the verge of tears, overwhelmed by the sudden technological blackout. The promise of a brighter future, so vivid just days ago, now feels impossibly distant. I don't understand. Mom, Leela whispers, it was working so well. What happened? Throughout the gully, the signs of crisis are everywhere. The digital safety net Alex had woven begins to fray. Small home-based businesses, reliant on online sales or communication, see their orders plummet. Community groups, once vibrant online hubs for organizing and support, fall silent. Neighbors, who had been connecting more easily online, now find themselves isolated again, unable to share updates or offer help. The immediate, localized effect of Alex's internet loss is a return to the isolation and disadvantage that once plagued this part of Maplewood. The joy and hope that had blossomed are replaced by frustration, confusion, and a growing sense of desperation. Alex, witnessing this silent suffering from his computer, is consumed by guilt and frustration. He watches the red error indicators multiply on his screen, each one a pang in his chest. He knows exactly what's happening. His desperate workaround has failed, or at best, is proving completely unreliable. He paces his office, running his hands through his hair. He tries different configurations, restarts systems, but the results are always the same: intermittent, unreliable service. The weight of hundreds of lives, unknowingly dependent on his system, bears down on him. He feels utterly helpless, knowing the solution is as simple as moving the antenna back to its optimal, forbidden spot, but the HOA's relentless pressure prevents it. He's trapped between his secret good deed and the threat of severe penalties. Meanwhile, the HOA remains blissfully ignorant of the silent crisis unfolding just blocks away. Mr. Harrison sends Alex a curt, self-satisfied email. Mr. Peterson, we note the removal of the structure from your roof. We appreciate your prompt compliance with the HOA covenants. We trust this matter is now resolved. The tone is one of triumph, completely unaware that their victory has plunged a significant portion of the community into digital darkness. They believe they have successfully upheld their rules and maintained the aesthetic harmony of Maplewood Estates. They've polished their neighborhood, completely blind to the vital lifeline they've severed. Alex stares at Harrison's email, bitter laugh escaping him. Resolved, he mutters to himself, the irony burning. The contrast between their perceived success and the actual devastation is stark and infuriating. The situation becomes unbearable for Alex. He sees an old woman from the gully sitting on a park bench, opally crying into her phone, unable to connect with her family in another state. He overhears parents at the local grocery store frantically discussing how their kids can possibly do their schoolwork without internet. The direct, human cost of his failure, or rather, the HOA's rules, is becoming impossible to ignore. He can't bear to watch the vibrant community he helped build regress into digital darkness. He scrolls through his network logs one last time, seeing the dwindling activity, the silent despair. His frustration boils over. merging with a fierce determination. He can't let this continue. The secret, the fines, the legal battles, none of it matters as much as the well-being of the people in the gully. He hits his desk with a clenched fist. There's only one option left. He has to reveal everything. He has to expose the truth about his antenna, about its true purpose, and about the devastating impact of the HOA's blind adherence to rules. The breaking point has been reached. He closes his laptop, stands up, and walks out of his office, his face set with a grim resolve, ready to face the storm. The atmosphere in the Maplewood Estates Community Hall was electric, thick with tension, and a pervasive sense of discontent. It was an emergency HOA meeting, called by a growing number of frustrated residents from the gully demanding answers about the sudden, devastating internet outages that had plagued their lives for days. Alex sat quietly in the back, his heart pounding, a printout of his network's impact map clutched in his hand. Mr. Harrison, at the head of the table, attempted to maintain order, his face a mask of annoyance as he fielded complaints. "We understand. There are connectivity issues in some areas," he stated, his voice condescending, "but internet service is a personal utility. The HOA is not responsible for ... double quotes." Before he could finish, David stood up, his voice trembling with a mix of anger and desperation. "Personal utility. Mr. Harrison, I just lost a life-changing internship because I couldn't connect. My employer thinks I'm unreliable. This isn't just an inconvenience. It's destroying futures." From another corner, Ms. Chen rose, her usual cheerful demeanor replaced by a look of profound sadness. "My baking classes, they bring me so much joy, bring us all together. Now they're gone. My grandniece, Leela, she can't do her schoolwork. It's a disaster." A chorus of frustrated murmurs erupted from the community members present, many of whom were from the gully, their faces etched with worrying. Leela's mother, seated beside her, nodded grimly. The HOA board members shifted uncomfortably, clearly out of their depth, still viewing this as a private service problem, not a community crisis. It was in this moment of raw desperation that Alex decided. He pushed himself to his feet, walking towards the front, every eye in the room turning to him. Mr. Harrison's eyes narrowed. "Mr. Peterson, this is a discussion about general service issues, not individual grievances." Alex ignored him, his gaze sweeping across the faces of David, Mrs. Chen, Leela's mother, the people he had quietly served. He took a deep breath. "Mr. Harrison, fellow residents," he began, his voice clear and resonating with the quiet authority that silenced the room. "I know exactly why the internet is out in the gully, and it's directly connected to the HOA's actions against me." A ripple of murmurs spread. He held up the crumpled orange notice from his door. "You see this? This is an ultimatum. Remove my antenna, or face fines and legal action. What you didn't know, what you couldn't have known," Alex paused, letting the words hang in the air, "is that my antenna wasn't just some unapproved structure. It was the sole source of free, reliable internet for almost 300 households in the gully." A collective gasp swept through the hall. Shock, then disbelief, then a growing wave of understanding washed over the faces of the community members. David's eyes widened, recognizing the anonymous provider he had often wondered about. Mrs. Chen brought a hand to her mouth, tears welling up. Leela's mother clutched her daughter's hand, looking at Alex with profound gratitude. Mr. Harrison, however, looked utterly stunned, his face paling. That's impossible," he stammered, looking at his fellow board members, who were equally aghast. "You were providing free internet to the whole underserved area." Alex nodded, then projected the network's impact map onto the screen behind him, a visual testament to his claim. The dense green constellation of active users in the gully was undeniable, starkly contrasting with the sparse, scattered connections in other parts of Maplewood. He then showed graphs illustrating the drastic drop in service coinciding with The HOAS notices and is desperate, failed attempt to hide the antenna. When I tried to hide it, to comply with your rules, Alex's voice trembled slightly with emotion, the signal degraded. And the ripple effect, that's David losing his internship, Mrs. Chen losing her community classes, Leela losing her access to education. That's isolation, that's futures crumbling. All because an antenna didn't fit your aesthetic guidelines. The reaction was immediate and powerful. From the community members, a surge of raw emotion erupted. He saved us, someone shouted. He gave my kids a chance, another cried out. A round of spontaneous applause began, quickly swelling into a standing ovation. People surged forward, not to condemn Alex, but to thank him, to shake his hand, to offer their support. The gratitude was palpable, overwhelming him. The HOA board members, initially defensive and incredulous, were now visibly shaken. They had prided themselves on upholding rules, on maintaining order, but they were confronted with the devastating, human cost of their rigidity. Mr. Harrison, his face a mixture of shock and shame, looked from the cheering crowd to Alex, then to the data on the screen. The reality of what they had unknowingly done, the lifeline they had almost severed, hit him with full force. He seemed to shrink in his seat. The meeting dissolved into a flurry of impassioned testimonials from the gully residents, each painting a vivid picture of how Alex's hidden network had changed their lives. It became clear that the HOA, in its pursuit of strict compliance, had become blind to the very human needs within their larger community. Finally, Mr. Harrison, looking utterly defeated yet deeply reflective, cleared his throat. We were unaware, he stated, his voice subdued, devoid of its usual arrogance. Mr. Peterson, what you have done, it's truly remarkable, and we, the HOA board, deeply regret the unintended consequences of our actions. It was a genuine apology, delivered not out of obligation, but out of a profound realization. The resolution, while not immediate, was surprisingly positive. The HOA didn't just back down. They actively sought a solution, recognizing the immense good Alex had done, and facing overwhelming community pressure, they called a special General Assembly vote. Not only was the rule about exterior antennas modified to allow for community-benefiting projects with proper oversight, but the HOA even committed to a fund to help subsidize the equipment needed to upgrade Alex's network to a more robust, legal, and community-supported system. They acknowledged the need for digital inclusion as part of their community's well-being. Alex, working alongside a newly formed Community Connectivity Committee, which included David and Mrs. Chen, began transitioning his grassroots operation into a sustainable, official initiative. He helped them draft proposals for grants, connected them with nonprofits, and continued to lend his expertise. The antenna, once a source of conflict, became a symbol of unity, a testament to what could be achieved when rules served people, not the other way around. In the aftermath, Maplewood Estates transformed. The gully no longer felt like a separate entity, but an integral, thriving part of the community, vibrant with connection. David secured his internship and went on to launch his own successful digital consulting business, always remembering the lifeline that started it all. Mrs. Chen's online baking classes flourished, attracting students from across the region, fostering connections far beyond Maplewood and Leela. She excelled in her studies, her dreams of becoming a software engineer now firmly within reach, all because someone cared enough to build a bridge where there was a gap. Alex, though no longer operating in secret, still found profound satisfaction in the quiet hum of the community's strength and network. He had learned that sometimes the greatest good comes from daring to break the mold, to challenge the status quo, and to connect people not just to the internet, but to each other. The antenna, standing proud and now officially approved on Alex's roof, was a silent monument to the power of community, empathy, and the unexpected hero who dared to connect them all.